Hello and welcome to my life where this is unscripted, unedited. I am going to keep in all the bloopers. I am not doing one iota of editing in this series. This series is a journal of my mental health and spiritual journey through some major life changes. And up until this point, I've discussed my husband's and my decision to make a major life change, moving from beautiful upstate New York in this beautiful house with the shiplap walls and all of that, down to Myrtle Beach area. And last week I discussed, well, maybe it wasn't a week ago. I'm releasing these every other day or so. So my last video, anyway, I discussed the financial concerns we had and discussing the Airbnb rental income versus our mortgage versus living down there and all of that. So this week we hire a property manager. How does that go? Well, still back in February when we went down in person to look at the properties, we interviewed two different property managers, and they were both long-term rental property managers. So at the time we were looking, there were only 4 properties that we were able to look at initially, and they were going to have to be long-term rentals. So that's what we thought we were going to have to go with. One of those 2 companies had a branch or a partner of sorts that did short-term rentals, and we got to meet Michael. And Michael was very personable. He's from similar area of New York State that my husband is from, and so they got along pretty well, discussing the area that they grew up in and so forth and so on. And he seemed like he had it all together. And we didn't question him as much as we probably should have, because at the time that we met him, we were looking at long-term rental at that point because we didn't think there was any properties in our price range that met all of our qualifications that was going to be able to be rented out for short-term rental. But we got a good feel from him for the brief interactions that we did have. And the way I handle stress is everything's a whirlwind and I just want to get her done. I want to go with not too many choices. I don't like to analyze things to death, because when I've gone that route, I've found that I've had analysis paralysis, and I've found that usually my first instinct, my first choice, quite often ends up working out quite well. So when it was time to actually hire the property manager, after we found out that it was going to be able to be Airbnb'd on short-term rental, Verbo, and bookings.com, all the different things, we thought, well, the company that we were looking at for the long-term rental, who partners with Michael, the short-term rental guy, seems reputable. Michael seemed good and qualified enough. So where I think my husband wanted to do more research and look into more people, we were also pressed for time as we were buying the property right at the start of the season, and we wanted to start getting it booked fast. So we thought, well, we already know someone. They seem okay. And there can't be too much of a difference between all of the different property managers. They all have the same job to do. Yeah. So we hire him. And at first, everything seems okay. It's a whirlwind of activity after the closing of getting the property rental friendly. It was already nearly there with the furnishings. It just needed a good deep clean. It needed, the initial bug spraying and all the initial startup things that you need to do, and a few minor repairs and things like that. But there seemed to be a communication issue between us and Michael, where we didn't know what was being done, when it was being done, whether or not it was being done. And we were kept getting reassurance, oh yeah, everything is fine, everything is going smoothly, but no details on that. eventually things started booking and we started getting the money rolling in. So where Dennis picked up on the red flags before I did, I was still of the mindset of, we're making the money, it's getting booked. Why worry? He's doing a good job. He's just not telling us about it as much. And I'm going down there in April, is my thoughts. I'll talk to him in person and get this all straightened out, get him to start communicating better. Because it's just an issue of communication. And if I tell him how, in person, stress to him how important the communication aspect is to us, he'll shape up. He seems to be doing everything else right. Okay, so that is the end of this video of how we picked our property manager and the start of some communication snafus. Next week, I go into the details of my trip down in April of this past year, April of 2025. So I hope that you're enjoying this series, and I hope that you're subscribed. And if you're not, please subscribe down below if you'd like to continue with this series, and you can hit the bell notification so you know when I post an update. And please give a like to this video, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down below, what you would have done differently if you were in my shoes, and any questions you might have for me. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Namaste.